From sea to shining sea and everywhere in between.
Wherever you are around the country.
This is America's Outdoor Talk program, Outdoors This Week. Outdoors This Week.
Get the kids, get the dog, get the cat. Sit them all down next to the radio. We are going to be talking about the great outdoors today.
And now, with America's latest news and talk on the great outdoors.
This is a dangerous place, man. You've got 1,000-pound bears wanting something that you have.
Here's your host, Alex Langer.
Why, thank you, Mr. Announcer. That would be me. I am, of course, Alex Langer, unless done a search for myself on the internet.
You Googled yourself?
There are so many Alex Langers out there. There's like 5 of them on Facebook.
Wow.
And that's just in this country. So.
That's awesome.
Never mind Germany, never mind anywhere else. So today is Ladies' Day on this program. What's the name of this program, Lynn? Outdoors This Week.
This is Outdoors This Week.
That's right. We have with us 2 of the queens. I guess you can't have 2 queens unless you're playing cards, right?
Yeah,
But
we have a full deck.
That's right. We're not playing with a full deck. We have the first lady of fishing. At least that's how she's known. She was born and raised in Australia, or Australia, like the Australians like to say. And she won her 3rd tournament in 2 years with the Ladies Bass Anglers Association on Lake Dardanelle this past May. And not only is she the leading point angler of the year with the LBAA, but she was the first woman to compete in the Bassmaster Classic back in 2009. She is with us today, and she's going to be talking about all her life and what it felt like to be in the Classic and things like that. Then, if that's not enough, Lynn, we have Cecilia Pudge Kleinkauf, who is the queen of women's fly fishing. She runs a place called Women's Fly Fishing in Anchorage, Alaska, and she teaches women how to fly fish and guides them on trips through Alaska and more recently also in Mexico. So that's it. And she's a fly tyer. She's a presenter on fly fishing for women at outdoor shows, fly shops, fly fishing clubs all around the country. And she is the queen of women's fly fishing. So there we go. We have 2 queens today. And I guess that beats a royal flush. All right, folks, we'll be right back with all the usual suspects today as well. All right, don't go away.
Hang tight. More of America's Outdoor Talk program, Outdoors This Week, after this.
Hi folks, Ron Linder here for Linder's Angling Edge Television. We have had some departments over the years here on our radio broadcast, and one of them was, that I had for a long time, was nature fakers and nutcases. These are generally our way of looking at PETA and like-minded groups that do more harm than good. They pretend good, but they always end up in harm. There's other groups that don't mean harm or don't even think about harm, but there is a thing that's called the line of unintended consequences. In other words, they think they're going to do right, but it ends up in the long run that there was long unintended consequences, and it comes out badly. The state of Wisconsin, for example, put a no-culling rule because fish that were caught in deep water brought out cold a lot of times wouldn't make it. Well, what happened was, in all these tournaments, without making any exception to this state, they ruined it where people would take out fish and keep them in live well to die anyway. The whole no-culling rule went back through the legislature, through a strong efforts of some fishing clubs up in the state of Wisconsin. They got that law rescinded. It meant well. They thought they were doing right. No culling. Again, but that's done with the greens. It isn't done so much with the outdoors people. That's my definition between the two. The greenies and the outdoor people. The people that really do it and those that pretend. Those are the nature fakers. A new one just came out here and it came to my mind. Maryland became the first state to ban, now get this, felt soiled waders. You know, the guys that go in there and fly cast, you know, they got these waders up to the, you know, you see these chest-high waders. Well, these are all got felt soles on them. And they found out, get this, what happened was the soles, valued by the anglers as sure-footed protection in simply places, trap spores and larvae of non-native plants and animals, showing the invaders to hitchhike by shoe from one stream to another. In other words, a guy would get these on his felt soles of his waders. He would put them in a car, and maybe he would drive that day to another stream, walk in there, and on his felt soled shoes, you would have these invaders, and that can happen, by the way. It's almost impossible to happen, but it can happen. It's within the realm of possibilities. So somebody got an idea. One of these people, who a greenie and not an outdoor person, says, let's ban felt-soled waders. So people that are walking around, of course, people are going to slip, die, fall in. You cannot believe what these things do. And one of the interesting things that they brought up there, and this was a study in some of Maryland's Gunpowder Falls area, linked the shoes of the fishermen. A biologist with the Maryland division, he linked the shoes. Maryland's ban on felt soles used by fishermen need to step to guard a treasured resource, because what they believe it can do is spread what is called rock snot. That's in rocks and snot dripping from your nose combination. If you see these rocks in the water, they got this slime all over them. And you pick it up, they call it rock snot. And they believe that this rock snot can be picked up on the bottom of the felt waders and carried. If a guy doesn't really dry out the waders real well, and then just maybe suddenly decide to go to another stream down the road, a completely different stream from a different tributary, completely from a different water system, that he might just possibly carry a few spores of larvae with this, and also other non-native plants. This first showed up in a place called the Batten River in Vermont, and then it spread to the White Mad. They found some in the Gihon River and a few others over there. And these things had, of all things, the horrible rock snot. So anyway, there's a guy that turned around here, one of these fly fishers, and turned around and says, hey, wait a second. Dennis Ritchie, executive director of the Oregon Anglers Association, who did an immense study, testified against the proposed ban during the legislative hearing. He says felt soles probably saved many a life in these people as they're walking around. And he says there is so little evidence that these felt is really picking up any amount of anything. It's possible, but there's also an improbability. And he says you'll probably lose more people than you will get buildups of rock snot. Well, that's it for Ron for this week, and that's my reporting in for our program featuring unintended consequences, brought about sometimes by nature fakers and even sometimes some nutcases. See you later, folks.
Start scouting coming up on Bass Pro Shops Outdoor World.
Would you like to spend less time on the couch and more time in the fresh air? Would you like your kids to stare at a bobber instead of the TV? Would you gladly trade in your microwave for a Dutch oven? Then you belong at Bass Pro Shops. Every week, we offer free skills workshops to help you get started. See the store or go to BassPro.com for more information. Bass Pro Shops. Your adventure starts here.
Hunters that take quality deer year after year aren't lucky, they're good. That's because when you're sitting at home in the air conditioning during the heat of August, they're out in the woods scouting and learning the travel, feeding, and bedding routines of deer long before the season starts. It doesn't matter where you live, deer movement patterns will be determined by food, water, cover, terrain, and hunting pressure. Their food source is probably the most critical, and if you can find a watering area with heavy cover nearby that's even better. Use a topographic map to find funnels, saddles, and edges that they will use to conceal their movements. Even trying to figure out where other hunters might accidentally drive deer your way. Don't over-scout. End your scouting by the end of August, and wait until the season opens before entering that area again. For more tips, go to BassPro.com and click on the Outdoor Site Library, or look for Outdoor World Tips in your local newspaper. Until next time, get out and enjoy the great outdoors. I'm Larry Whiteley, and this is Bass Pro Shop's Outdoor World.
Why, thank you, Mr. Whiteley, very much, and we always appreciate your fine tips and suggestions for what to do. And speaking of fine tips and suggestions, we have with us a legend in the world of fly fishing. She is Cecilia Kleinkauf. She owns and operates women's fly fishing in Anchorage, Alaska, and she teaches women how to fly fish and guides them on trips throughout Alaska and also Mexico. You can find her site at womensflyfishing.net. She is with us today, and she's the author of numerous fly fishing books. She also is on more worldwide websites than you can shake a stick at. Welcome, please, Cecilia Pudge Kleinkauf. Pudge, welcome to the show.
Well, good morning, Alex. I'm delighted to be here.
Well, it's always wonderful to have you here. And what's new in your life?
Well, lots of exciting things. I have a new book just about to hit the shelves. It's on the barge on the way back from, China or Malaysia or
right.
someplace that I'm pretty proud of. It's a book I've been working on for a couple of years. I'm going to let the public see some of my most secret salmon flies.
Really? There are obviously secret flies. Is that what you're saying?
Everybody has secret flies. Everybody who tie flies. And so these are a few of my secrets that I'm going to reveal to the public.
All right. What's your top secret that you're going to reveal?
Well, probably the top secret is there's also a chart in the book that gives you which of the flies are the best flies to use for each of the 5 species of Pacific salmon.
Okay. Give me the name of a salmon.
Let's say a sockeye salmon.
A sockeye salmon. And you got a fly for a sockeye salmon.
In fact, the chart's got 4 or 5 of the flies that are in the book, and the chart will say these are some of the best flies to use for fishing for sockeye salmon.
Where can people buy this book?
They're going to be able to buy it at all of the major outlets and on Amazon, as well as on my website, womensflyfishing.net, and from the publisher, which is Frank Amato Publications. So the book will be available everywhere here very soon.
In the month of August or in September?
Well, we hope in the month of August. That's the plan, is still in the month of August.
Okay.
It should hit the shelves.
You have a couple of trips coming up. One will be for silvers and one for rainbows. Tell me about that.
Well, I do 10 to 12 trips around Alaska every year, guided trips for women and couples. And it's kind of now getting toward the end of the summer. So during August, I do a lot of single-day fishing because the fish are available for people. But we've got still 2 of our big trips that will go on in September. The first is a trip for pretty much exclusively silver or coho salmon. And then the little bit later trip, about mid-September, will be for fall rainbows, the ones that get big and fat because they've been eating all the salmon eggs.
I've been watching the gold miners up in Alaska, and the snow starts to fly about mid-September, doesn't it?
It's in certain places, yes, it does. And here in the next, probably week or 10 days or so, we'll also begin to say that, it's beginning to feel like fall. There's just kind of a change in the atmosphere and in the air, and we know that things are beginning to wind down for us. As a matter of fact, when silver salmon, one of the truisms in Alaska is that when the silver salmon hit the rivers, summer's over.
Really? When do the silvers hit the rivers?
Alaska's so huge, it kind of depends on which part of the state. But in kind of about now, second week, third week in August, most of the locations around the state that have silvers begin to have them. And then usually in many other areas, it'll be early September that the big flood of fish is really available.
Pudge, I'll tell you one of my secret observations, even in New England. Once you hit August 15th, the summer is really kind of over. It really is. It feels like fall. It acts like fall. I mean, I'm not saying you can't get an Indian summer once in a while, but the look and feel of everything changes right around August 15th. Most people can't notice it, but being a fisherman, you notice it.
You do, yes, and that's very true. That's exactly true for Alaska. Our other big truism, which you can see, is that when the fireweed flowers, when the blossoms reach the top, summer's over.
Pudge, on that note, got to end our interview. Thank you for being with us. And where can people find your book? What is the name of your book? We haven't given that out.
The new book is called Pacific Salmon Flies, New Ties, and Old Standbys.
All right. Thank you, Pudge, for being with us. Look for Pudge Kleinkauf's book. Folks, we'll be right back. Don't go away.
Wow! Hold on to that, and that's a good one since 1984. Tight Lines with Sammy Lee.
For several months now, you've heard me talk about the wonderful delight known as U.S. farm-raised catfish. But exactly who is the Catfish Institute, and what do they do to help promote and educate us about this delicious, tasty food? Hello, this is Sammy Lee. In just a moment, I'll let the president of the Catfish Institute tell us all about themselves. But first, this message. You know, August was never a month for holidays until now. August is National Catfish Month. 31 days to enjoy the glories of U.S. farm-raised catfish. And how do you celebrate? Well, you could sit out in the sun for hours trying to catch a mess of them, but in this weather, I'm heading for air-conditioned grocery stores or my favorite restaurant, and I'll be looking for the seal that says U.S. farm-raised catfish. You know, I love this holiday. No presents to buy, no costumes to put on. All you need is an appetite. Celebrate National Catfish Month your own self. Happy catfish, everyone! You know, good old deep-fried southern catfish was a staple around the Lee home while I was growing up. So when I first heard about the Catfish Institute, I couldn't help but wonder, who are they and what do they do? So I traveled over to Jackson, Mississippi, and sat down with Roger Barlow, the president of the Catfish Institute, and asked Roger to tell me exactly what the Catfish Institute is and does.
Well, the Catfish Institute is the marketing arm for the U.S. farm-raised catfish industry. And we were formed in 1986 with our mission to increase consumer awareness of U.S. farm-raised catfish and the attributes that it represents.
Woo. Now, you say the marketing arm. Doesn't everyone in America know they need to be eating U.S. farm-raised catfish, Roger?
Well, it truly is the best fish for them to be eating. It's not only good for them, but it's good for the environment as well. But no, our job is to continue to enhance and inform and educate consuming public.
What do they need to be informed about? I mean, isn't a catfish a catfish?
No, a catfish is not a catfish. Our catfish is he's fed a scientific diet, a specially formed floating pellet that gives him a unique, slightly sweet taste over the wild-caught catfish. From the time he's just half an inch long, all the way up until when he's 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds, he is fed this protein pellet.
So that's the secret to the delicious U.S. farm-raised catfish. I'll be back with more Tight Lines after this message. I'll continue talking with Roger Barlow about U.S. farm-raised catfish next time, so I hope you'll join us. I'm Sammy Lee, and until next time, Tight Lines.
Tight Lines, brought to you by SpectraBurst, the ultimate color-changing technology. HuntMate, the best hunting app for your iPhone. U.S. farm-raised catfish, the healthiest fish from pond to plate. And by Bleeding Belly's Lures, the bait that actually changes color.
Thanks, Sammy. You know, Lynn, that explains it. I was wondering what all these catfish were doing hanging around the radios.
I know. I had no idea.
It's National Catfish Month.
That's what it is.
I didn't even know there was a National Catfish Month. Did you?
No, I didn't. And I didn't get you anything. I'm sorry.
I got you some whiskers. I got you a catfish outfit and a couple of long
Oh,
whiskers.
cool. I'll wear it.
I got it out back. In honor of National Catfish Month, which I didn't know existed.
Neither did I.
We have a treat for you today. We have somebody known as the First Lady of Fishing. Well, who could that be? that would have to be the first woman who competed in the Bassmaster Classic, and she finished 47th, I might add, which is not too shabby. She has been winning the Ladies Bass Angler Association tournaments one after another, and there's no stopping her. She won her third tournament in 2 years with the LBAA in May on Lake Dardanelle. Let me give her the proper introduction. If I had a drum roll, I'd say play it. But she was born and raised in Australia, and she's known as the First Lady of Fishing. Now, there used to be a First Lady of Country Music. May I introduce you to the First Lady of Fishing, Kim Bain-Moore. Kim, welcome to the show.
Hi, Alex. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for coming on. Let me ask you about competing in the Bassmaster Classic, because that was really a first. It was you and all those guys. How did that feel?
It was really an incredible experience, and it was one that I had dreamed of. You know, it was kind of a dream that my family and I had for a long time. So,
did you heard of the Bassmaster Classic in Australia, where you're from?
Sure, yeah. I had actually growing up, I had been able to see kind of the U.S. scene in bass fishing magazines, and I had been able to watch some of the videos. So it was a big goal of a lot of Aussies, and definitely one that my family and I shared together. And when I was able to go, I think it was pretty overwhelming. My emotions were heightened, and I was pretty nervous, and I think my nerves probably got the best of me in the end, but I was incredibly proud to compete, you know, as the First Lady and Australian, and pretty honored to share that with my family and all the other families in the audience.
When you saw yourself on Bassmaster magazine, how did that feel?
It was almost surreal, actually, because I'd like to think I'm pretty down to earth, and I just go out there and go fishing, and then all of a sudden to sort of have my name everywhere, it was pretty shocking, and I was proud, and I still have a lot of people contact me on Facebook, and they say they have the magazines, and when I go to the Classic, they bring the magazines for me to sign, and it's really special, and it's something that I'm able to take it with me forever.
You'll always have that, no matter what happens from now on. On your obituary, it'll be first woman to fish in the Classic. So
yeah, and it's fun too. And now watching, you know, all the Olympic Games on TV, and watching you know, a lot of the athletes compete and sort of get gold medals. You know, in fishing we can't get gold medals, but we can sure try and make the Classic, and I feel really honored and proud to have made it that one.
About 20 years ago, I tried to make fishing an Olympic sport, but it didn't go anywhere. So, needless to say, I failed at that.
Well, we'll keep trying.
We'll keep trying. What's your favorite Olympic sport, if I may be so bold?
You know, I really, it's hard to pick. I like a lot of different stuff. I like the swimming, and I like the skeet shooting. I like the rowing and the gymnastics too, because they're just so great. I'm not very graceful, so I really admire all of those the gymnasts.
The gymnasts are my favorites also. To watch them tumble and effortlessly do what they do it's incredible. You know, when you're not fishing, what do you like to do, Kim?
Well, Alex, you know, I'm fishing most of the time, but if I'm not on the water, I love to cook. I love to play with my dogs. I have 2 dogs, so we go and play Frisbee, and I like to go to the local gun range, and we do a lot of skeet shooting and pistol shooting and rifle shooting. I love to hunt, so I love to get out there, and with my husband, and we go out to the range and shoot lots of different targets and sort of test our skills.
Your husband is Andre Moore, who is famous for Reaction Innovations. How are you involved with Reaction Innovations?
Well, through Andre, through my marriage with Andre, obviously I have an involvement with Reaction Innovations, and it's a family business. But that aside, even before we were involved, I mean, they are for sure my favorite lures. They've secured me every victory I've ever had, and they were the ones that got me to the Classic.
So your husband snared you with his lures, didn't he?
Well, he snared me with his wit and charm, and the lures were a bonus.
That's a good answer, Kim. That's a good answer. What is your favorite setup and tackle and technique, if you can share that with us?
Well, I have lots, but if I had to pick one, and this is really the one that got me to the Classic, it's a G Loomis 7'5" flip and stick. I'd match that up with a Fluger Patriarch bait caster, 30-pound braid, 20-pound fluorocarbon leader, tungsten bullet weight, 4 round bend straight shank flip and hook, and a reaction innovation sweet beaver in either California 420, which is kind of like a dark watermelon on one side and a watermelon red on the other, or a hematoma, which is like a black and blue swirl.
I love that. Hematoma. That's a cool name for a bait. If you could hang on, we're going to take a quick break. Would you come back and join us for another segment?
Absolutely. Love to.
All right, terrific. Folks, Kim Bain-Moore, she'll be back right after this, all right?
Hey, what do you think you're doing? Don't change that dial. Alex will be right back with more of Outdoors This Week after these messages.
There's good news and bad news for you waterfowl hunters. The good news is that this year ducks are at an all-time high number. And the bad news? These good times won't last if the current trends in habitat loss continue. I'm Wade Bourne, and this is Wired to Hunt Radio. Today, an interview with Dale Hall of Ducks Unlimited about ongoing threats to North America's waterfowl population.
Stay tuned for more Wired to Hunt Radio.
Cabela's is the world's foremost outfitter for hunting, fishing, camping, and outdoor gear. They offer more gear than anybody, best selection, prices, and quality, all backed by Cabela's legendary guarantee. Shopping with Cabela's has never been easier or more convenient. You can outfit all your needs through Cabela's catalogs, website, and their many stores. Check them out at Cabela's.com. Cabela's, the world's foremost outfitter. Never been a fan of gun rest because you don't want to lug a stick around with you? Then you need to see this. A compact gun rest that's no bigger than your hand. Keep one in your pocket until needed. Then hook your little Sure Shot gun rest around a tree limb or whatever's handy. With this item, my range has increased 25% and my accuracy even more. Go to WadeBourneOutdoors.com or Google Little Sure Shot Gun Rest to see the amazing video. That's WadeBourneOutdoors.com. Let me know what you think.
This is Wired to Hunt Radio.
The results of this year's annual duck survey are out. The number of breeding ducks in North America is 48.6 million, an all-time high. That's great news for hunters for this fall. However, there's growing concern for the long term. Wetland drainage, conversion of grasslands to agriculture, and loss of government funding for conservation programs all are threats looming on the horizon. And Ducks Unlimited CEO Dale Hall has one more great concern for the future of waterfowl. He says we must do a better job of engaging young people for the cause of conservation. There has to be a new generation ready to carry the torch when the current generation must pass it on.
We simply have to understand that conservation is a competitive entity with everything else that these young people are trying to deal with. And we want to work hard, and I think the challenge is to have them make conservation part of their value system as their parents and we have. But if we don't do that, my fear, Wade, is that in 50, 60, 70 years, conservation could be a footnote in history, a movement that died.
Dale Hall continued that conservationists can't just sit back and hope for the best. They have to be proactive in fostering the next generation to take up the cause of protecting and enjoying the great outdoors. More tomorrow from Dale Hall. And that's today's Wired to Hunt Radio. I'm Wade Bourne saying thanks for listening. Get outside.
Thanks, Wade. We have a special guest with us today. She is known as the First Lady of Fishing of any decade. Not like country music, because every decade has a First Lady of country music, but she is in fact the First Lady of Fishing, as far as I'm concerned, of all time. And the kicker is she was born and raised in Australia, and she was the first woman to compete in the Bassmaster Classic back in 2009. And she is the current leader in points for Angler of the Year with the Lady Bass Anglers Association. Kim, first of all, welcome back. And I didn't even introduce you. Kim Bain-Moore, ladies and gentlemen. Kim Bain-Moore. Tell me about the Ladies Bass Angler Association.
The Lady Bass Anglers Association, we're currently in our second year, and it's an organization that's independently run that really caters it caters to ladies that really love to get out there and go fishing and also compete. So it's a great organization. It's super friendly, and we go to various tournaments around the country where we have 4 events and then a championship.
4 events and a championship. Can anybody fish in these tournaments?
They can. Any ladies can fish in these tournaments. They can catch up with the LBAA, on Facebook. Entry fees for a pro are $400, and then for a co-angler, it's $200. So it's really achievable and accessible to really everybody. And we encourage ladies out there, if you want to get out there and go fishing and maybe learn some new techniques and fish a tournament, the LBAA is a great destination for you.
Tell us about your last victory on Lake Dardanelle back in May.
Well, that one was a bit of a surprise, actually. I had, in practice, I had 2 patterns going. I was catching some bigger fish on a hollow-bodied frog on bankside vegetation, and then I was catching some deeper fish on a shaky head with the Reaction Innovations float worm. And it was kind of my intention during the tournament to fish deep, catch a few fish, and then move shallow on that grass to catch a kicker. But during the tournament, I couldn't get those shallow fish to bite. So I kind of stuck it out with the deeper fish, and I was able to put together a limit on the last day, and that secured me the win. So I was really, really excited. And even I think after sort of 10 minutes after the scales closed, I was wandering around saying, so who won this thing? And sort of said, you did. And I was like, oh, awesome. Woohoo.
You had a full day of fishing, and you won as well. So that was a surprise. What did you catch them on?
I caught them on a shaky head. So I had a 3/16 ounce shaky head with a Reaction Innovations float worm in hot tamale color.
You guys have the most inventive color name, if I do say so myself. Does Andre come up with those, or who does?
He comes up with most of them, and we're sort of the committee. He'll throw them out there, and we'll say yay or nay, and but certainly we do sit around and sort of brainstorm and throw out ideas and see who comes up with some of the funniest ones.
I looked through the website the other day, and some of the colors just floored me. Give him a big thumbs up on that. And let me ask you this: you also fish saltwater. Tell us about some of your adventures in saltwater.
Well, I do like saltwater, and we've been doing a lot of tournaments lately. I fish with my husband, Andre, and some other friends because we can get together as a team, and we usually like to have sort of 4 or 5 people on the boat. And we've been fishing a lot of tournaments in the Gulf, and we've been chasing yellowfin tuna, marlin, wahoo, and mahi. And it's been super fun, and we've actually had a lot of success lately. We've secured close to $200,000 in winnings.
Really?
And Yep. And it's just been fun, kind of hanging out and getting to do well on tournaments, and then you get to come home with a lot of fish for the table. So we've been catching some really big tuna. I think our biggest to date is a 164.5 pounder. And we got a lot of sushi from that, so it was a good deal.
I guess. Did you catch him on a shaky head?
No, we did not catch that one on a shaky head. That one actually was caught by my buddy Chad, who lives in Florida, and that was caught on a live bait at about 4 o'clock in the morning.
Wow. If you could sum up your whole career in fishing, what would it be? What would be on your headstone? What would your epitaph be if you had to pick one?
I don't know. I think I'd like it to say something like always looking for the next adventure or something.
Yeah.
I love it all. Freshwater, saltwater, hunting, traveling around the world. I mean, if I haven't been there yet, I want to go. It's all fun. Just get outside and do something, and never tell yourself that you can't. Just go. Just pack a bag and do it.
Just do it. That should be your motto, right? Just do it. Although a shoe company already has that one. We would have to think of something different. Kim Bain-Moore, thank you for joining us. Time for us has run out. Come back again. Would you do that?
I would love to. Thanks for having me. And if anybody wants to follow up with me, they can catch me on Evinrude's Facebook page or their community page, eNation, and I post a lot of photos and videos and stuff. So shoot me a message on those things.
All right, Kim, thank you very, very much for being on with us. And the folks, thank you for being with us. We'll see you next time on Outdoors This Week. Bye-bye.
Alex Langer, Outdoors This Week.